Hi YouTube. So it is time for a February vlog. Sorry. I was going to try and be professional for this particular video, but it seems like I've already missed the mark. But never mind. So it is a Saturday. It's looking a bit grey out there, but okay. It's a little bit nicer than it was yesterday. It was horrible yesterday, just absolutely miserable. Um, so really, I suppose quite a short vlog for the first one of 2017, I think it is. So this is February now, so obviously been a little bit lax in terms of doing these over the sort of the holiday period and indeed January. Done a couple of reviews, but yeah. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was um, mechs and DIY homebrew juice. So as you will know, I have started doing a lot more reviews of mechanical mods, and I really just wanted to sort of unpick the things that I like about them, the things that I don't like about them, which is very few. Um, Bits about batteries, bits about devices, clones and authentics, builds for mechs, wicking, etc., etc. Really, so the whole 9 yards. So, um, in terms of devices, I have gotten rid of a lot of my clone devices recently. Decided that I wanted to just focus on getting authentics, but I still like to buy clones just so that I've got a little bit of a reference point when it comes to using an authentic. So, obviously these devices are quite expensive. So I wanted to make sure that in terms of the device themselves that I actually like them before I shell out 100, £200 for a tube. Um, so I've had, as you've seen, a couple of authentic devices recently. So I have the Underdog there. We have the aluminium Rogue, beautiful, beautiful aluminium tube. The Able, it's the AV Able. This is with my own sort of custom sleeve on there. In fact, let's have a quick vape of that. Some juice here that I'll be talking about in a minute or two. Lovely. The Able, and the latest addition to the family, the Timekeeper. So I've got an unmatchy-matchy goon on top of that because I just love the goon. I had been using a Captain Cap on there, but do you know what? I just like the goon so much, and although I plan to get an authentic copper goon, this will do for the time being. Put the drip tip for the LP on there, and I think that looks quite cool actually. Nice and understated. But yeah, so I love mechs. I really, really do. I enjoy the way that they feel in the hand. I enjoy the way that they perform. I enjoy the way that they hit, and I enjoy their simplicity. I suppose the fact that they are so easy to use. You just throw a battery in, throw a build on, and vape your face off. I think that's the real appeal of a mechanical device. And whilst you wouldn't want to drop your £200 mech in the bath or in the toilet or something like that, if you did, it's not going to fry all your circuits. You're just gonna have to wash it off, wipe it off, clean it up, and dry it out, and then you'll be good to go again. And I suppose that's part of the appeal, the simplicity, and also the craftsmanship, the artistry. I mean, you can get, and I suppose this is one of the biggest bugbears of mechs and regulated and people who have views on both. You can get an RX 200 for You know, you can get one of the old ones now online on some of the second-hand groups. You can pick one up for about 20-30 quid. And this will do absolutely everything and more than this. But I can honestly tell you which one I would prefer to be using. You know, it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of craftsmanship, as opposed to a lump of, well, I don't know, just a lump of circuits, batteries, and LED screens. I think there's something just about that simplicity, and you do it to taste. So, you know, where you would adjust your wattage on a regulated device, you adjust your build. You adjust the build that you have in your atomizer to account for what sort of vape you'd like. If you want a hot vape, or if you want a cooler vape, if you want a flavorful vape. Again, it's the same with the regulated devices to a degree. You change your wattage, and then you can artificially do that. But you know, using a mech is so simple, and it's so manual. You know, you have to understand what you're doing to be able to use a mechanical device to its full potential. And I suppose that's what's the appeal of it. I like the buttons. I like the way that they're built. I like the simplicity. Yeah, cool. So in terms of what I typically use, you've got to be very, very aware of your battery safety when you're using a mechanical device. Not that you don't with anything else, but you know, fresh, well wrapped, well maintained 18650s with a good amp limit, and understand your amp draw as well as your ohms law as well. So, you know, with this, it is a Samsung 25R, and I have Samsung 25Rs in both of those, and they have a certain amp limit, so they have a discharge limit, and you need to build appropriately for that. Now, that the amp rating that you'll find online typically will be their continuous amp discharge rating. Now, you can obviously, well, I say obviously, but you can push them higher than their stated amp draw. But obviously, you just need to be very mindful of the fact that you are pushing the battery past where it is supposed to be safe on a continuous basis. In terms of batteries, just make sure that your batteries are wrapped well. They're not getting too hot. If you start feeling your mod heating up a lot, just put it down or take the battery out and, you know, and see whereabouts you are. So just make sure that you're being as safe as you possibly can. It is simple, but you just need to understand the electronics, the physics of current, amps, ohms, watts, volts, etc. And once you do that, then I promise you'll have a fantastic time with them. You really will. You can always diagnose a problem, and you very rarely will get a good quality mech that will go wrong, just purely because there's so few moving parts, or there's so few parts which can go wrong. In both my AV products, they've got magnets. In the Rogue, it's got a spring. I think in the Underdog, it's got what have I got in there? I've got magnets in there at the moment, but you can change it out for a spring. But other than that, that's the only moving part on a mechanical. In terms of what I use around the building side of things, so I use, typically on a mechanical, I will use a much simpler build than I would on a regulated. Now, that's purely personal preference. I've been enjoying sort of chaos wire, so this is the increased surface area chaos wire, so 22 gauge, or I've been using things like this stainless steel flat wire, and not claptoning, not doing anything like that, just a really simple build for a nice, warm, flavorful, saturated vape. You tend to find, well, you'll see, I'm sure, if you go onto any forums or any groups, there's lots of people who will build very, very low. You know, you get your 007s, your James Bond builds, so 0.007 ohms, which is very low. I find that with the chaos wire or the flat wire, I find that really a nice 0.1 or 0.15 does an absolute treat. You're still okay with your batteries, you're okay with your amp draw, you get a nice flavourful dense vape. And you're generally pretty safe, just as long as you follow the instructions. As long as you follow the guidance and the rules around how to vape safely with a mech, it won't blow up. And I know jumping on the bandwagon, but this is not dangerous. This is only dangerous if you treat it poorly. So the contact at the top is obviously your positive contact, and then the rest of the battery is your negative. Obviously that part there is the only bit that should be exposed, but if there is a tear in your battery and you can get a contact across from the top to the side, and typically is on the side, you get a key or a piece of change or something like that across them, then you will have a hard short and you will start getting into things like thermal runaway, venting, all of that stuff, which goes up on the news and makes vaping, you know, the devil. So please do be careful when you're looking at things like that. I just, you know, I want to keep mechs around. I want to keep them safe. And you're absolutely right. I'm sure there's people who are watching this who will say to me, they'll say, look, you know, I can get all of, you know, that power from a regulated device. You absolutely can. And there's a lot more protection. There's a lot more safety. So it won't fire if it's too low. It won't fire if the battery is too low as well. It won't let you fire if the board heats up too much or the batteries are heating up too much. And yes, it is safer, but actually, you know, we're doing this because it's a hobby. And if you're watching this, it should be really because you are a hobbyist vapor, and it's something which you enjoy doing. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, 2 years ago me going and looking for a video on mechanical tube mods or timekeepers or ables. I've been looking for starter kits. I've been looking for Kanga products. I've been looking for Mech products. You know, maybe a DNA, but not looking for, you know, your mechanical tubes, your high-end mechanical tubes. So yes, that is my little rant on mechanicals over and done with. Let's just have another quick vape, and then I'll talk to you about what I've got in them. So we have, that's flat wire, and this one is chaos wire. And what we have inside is we have some homebrew. So I've been really getting into my homemade liquid, my DIY liquid. And it's incredibly straightforward. I started off trying to do this probably about 9 months ago, and I found it a real pain, a real hassle to get the right flavour concentrate, get the right flavours that I wanted, and it was just a bit of potluck. But since then, things have moved on quite a lot. There's much better recipes. There are one shots, so flavour shots, which are pre-mixed concentrate. Like that. So this is Tickle Me Pink, which is this. And this bottle, this 30ml bottle, will make, if you mix it up in the right quantity, so this is about 18% concentration, although you can knock that down just a touch, I can make 120 mils of juice for 30 mils of this concentrate. So in terms of that, you're ending up, your cost is considerably reduced. So all you need to do is go off and buy a big bottle of VG. So this is 250 mils of VG. You can get that for about a £5. It's dirt cheap. You get your flavour shop, which is about £8, possibly even less. So you're looking at 10, 11 quid for 120, no, hang on, it was more than that, 120, 60, 170 mils of juice. So I made 3 of these up, so 3 30 mils, 60 ml bottles of that. And you can even go bigger, you can start looking at, you know, really big bottles. So I've got 150 ml steeping in there of some lemon tart. It's honestly, it's straightforward, it's really simple. You just need to get your DIY products, make sure that you keep them clean and safe. Get some mixing stuff, so get some syringes, etc. So you're measuring it properly. Your nicotine. So this is 100 mils of 72 milligram nicotine, and that, you know, for 60 mils you need about, was it 2.5 milliliters of nicotine which is VG based to make your juice. So 60 mils with 2.5 milliliters of nicotine at 72 milligrams. There we go. Yeah, cool, good maths. But yeah, it's becoming a lot cheaper to do, and actually with your TPD regulations now, it's going to be the most cost effective and easiest way. I mean, if you're like me, when you're vaping, in fact I will have some vape. Yeah, if you're like me, you get through somewhere between sort of, I don't know, 20 mil, maybe 25, 30 mil of juice per day. So that's that. So that could be a 15 quid. If you're looking at premium juice, that could be a 15 quid a day habit. And it is a habit, obviously, but that becomes quite untenable. You know, I mean, that's as much as smoking, if not more, when you throw in the price of, you know, a Timekeeper, for example, on top of that, and all of the other crap that you buy. It ends up being a very expensive proposition. So doing DIY really does make sense. And if you start experimenting with the flavours, then you are definitely going to start finding that you're getting juices that you like, juices maybe that you don't like, but you haven't risked 30 mils at 15 quid or even more for a taster. I've been using I had Tickle Me Pink. This is all from Chef's Flavours. There's Tickle Me Pink, which is a really nice sort of guave-y, fruity sort of flavour. There's also this Tomato Citron, so lemon tart basically I've called it, and this is a concentrate again, so you mix this at 20%, and this is pretty much it is the Dinner Lady lemon tart. It tastes almost identical, to be quite honest. So I found that rather than spending, as it is, I think they are 16, 17 quid for 30 mils. We're spending something like 3 quid for 100 mils, something stupid like that. Actually, that's wrong. My maths is wrong on that, but regardless, it is definitely cheaper. You also find though that you need to make sure that you are steeping well enough. So this bottle here is quite well. It's turning. It's almost colourless at the moment, and that was mixed up earlier on in the week. Whereas when you look at this or this in comparison, which was mixed up maybe 2.5 weeks ago, they're really bringing out the colours and bringing out the flavour of that bakery. The bakery takes a little bit longer to steep, whereas the fruit flavours are more of a shaken vape. So the Tickle Me Pink, TMP, you can just mix this up and go. I haven't waited that long. Oh shit. I haven't waited that long to steep it, and to be honest, it tastes absolutely fine straight out of the bottle. But yeah, that's about it, I think. Oh, yes, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was cleaning of your mechanicals. So that's the final point which I wanted to get on, and it's something which I forgot about talking about earlier, but it's absolutely critical that you keep these clean and you keep them working properly. Now, when I say clean, I don't necessarily mean the outside. Whilst I like a nice shiny mod, there's people who like to get a nice patina on their mod, which is absolutely fine. What I'm talking about is your threads and your contacts. So inside each mod, you will have a contact at the bottom, and you'll also have contact obviously on your atomizer, so your 510 pin, which everyone is familiar with. Keep them clean, give it a little bit of a rub. I use a bit of Brasso normally, or you can just rub it on a bit of fine grit paper, or even on the back of a mouse mat, something like that. I use this Brasso, so this is nearly empty, but they are literally, it's just like wadding, and you tear off a little bit, polish it up, give it a wipe down with some paper towels, and then give it a buff with a microfiber cloth or something like that. And then what I like to do is I like to go on the inside and rub the Brasso round the thread on both sides, of the male and female sides, and rub that round with some Brasso or some Autosol or some other sort of metal polish, and then take your paper towel and rub that on the inside until the black stops coming through, because that's your oxidization of your metal. So that's what I do, and then use a bit of 3-in-1 oil, just a dab, a tiny dab, and then run that round either with your finger or a toothbrush or a cotton bud, just to make sure that your threads are nice and clean and you get a good contact. Because obviously your threads are also integral to the way that your mech conducts electricity. That is one last thing to say as well. Conductivity it depends on the metal of your mod. So in terms of conductivity, copper, brass and aluminium are the three sort of main high-end materials used for making high-end mods. Sorry, materials for making high-end mods. They all conduct fairly similarly, to be quite honest. There will be people who'll say that, you know, copper hits harder than brass and Ali hits harder than copper, etc., etc. I don't notice in the real world that being the case. You know, once you've got a little bit of battery drain and battery sag, you know, I genuinely don't find that you notice much of a difference. But brass is the least conductive of the three, and then I think copper is the highest, and then aluminium is the next down. So it goes copper, ali, brass, but genuinely don't notice a huge amount of difference. Obviously, a nice gold-plated mod would be nice, or silver. Silver is obviously very conductive and doesn't corrode very much. But obviously, these metals, because they are so conductive and they conduct so well, they will oxidize and they will patina on you. So just make sure that you're keeping them in good nick. This has been a long waffle. I apologise, and I've got other things to do today, so I will leave you with the thought: try out a mech. Do honestly try it. You don't need to spend a ton. You can get clones. You can get cheap authentics. You know, like the Cloud Chasing Club Underdog is 60 quid, something like that. You can get the new ones now for about £59, so the version 2. And it will not let you down. It's a fantastic device. But yeah, cheers for watching. Thank you very much, and I will see you again soon.